All righty, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome. Glad that you're here today. If you're able, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Thank you very much. 1.03 is approval of the agenda. All right, there's motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. 1.04 is the introduction of our student representative, Ms. Brinley Peterson. This is a non-action item. And Teresa has the introduction.
Well, I am happy to introduce Brinley Peterson. She is a senior at Spring Creek High School with a 4.0 cumulative GPA. She currently is the Spring Creek High School Student Body Vice President. Brinley is a member of Spring Creek High School volleyball team for the past 4 years, earning first all-region and first team all-league. And I have seen this girl hit. She can hit and she can set and do all kinds of things, so well earned. She is also involved in FCCLA, Hope Squad, and National Honor Society. Her future plans are to attend a university in Utah and get a degree in nursing. Brinley, welcome. We're glad you're here with us.
Thank you, Brinley. Anything you want to add at this point? All right, sounds good. 1.05 is the recognition of our January S.T.A.R.S recipients. Another non-action item. Take it away when you're ready, Mr. Anderson.
That is for me. So we're actually going to be acknowledging one of our November stars that we're carrying over from before, and then 2 of our December stars. So I guess we'll go to November 1st. Is Emily? Are you Emily? You are. Oh, okay, I thought so. All right, Emily, come on up to there, to the podium. You're not going to be required to speak, but you just need to be central to the room. So,
Because it's all about you.
I'm going to read all about you. All right. So Emily, and I apologize, you definitely look different this evening than you were very jolly when I saw you last time. So, well, we do them the next month, so it was a November one. Either way, though, great to see you here again tonight. No. Yeah, so we tricked, well, I shouldn't take any credit. Miss Blanchard and Mr. Steenson tricked Emily. They made it so Emily is a special education teacher at Liberty Peak Elementary, and she's often helping with putting out some fires sometimes. And so they radioed her as if there was not an actual fire, but a special education type fire somewhere. And so she came running, and instead of a young person that she was going to handle, she got a bunch of us. So, she had 2 different nominations for her to be a S.T.A.R.S Award recipient, and I'm going to read them both. The first one, she was nominated by a coworker named Marana Berry, and that person said the following: Emily is the most hardworking and dedicated teacher. She shows up to work and gives 150% every single day, and it shows. She is passionate for her students and a wonderful teacher to work with. Being a special education teacher calls for a special kind of person, and Emily is perfect for this position. Any kid that goes into her classroom is filled with love and admiration, shown their potential, and works hard because she is nothing but dedicated to them and their education. There's nothing she can't do, and she is very loved by all the people who work with her and by her students. She deserves all the love in the world. Love that last sentence. And then the other nominator wished to remain anonymous, but this is what they said. Emily is completely dedicated to the children she serves every day. She goes above and beyond to ensure all of her students' needs are being met. They are her top priority every day. Whether that is adapting lessons, helping with severe needs, or just loving and caring for each one individually. She truly encompasses the special educator heart of gold, and our students and staff are extremely lucky to have her. She goes out of her way to assist teachers, paraprofessionals, and administrators in anything they need, and is a critical asset to our team at Liberty Peak. So congratulations, Emily, and thanks for...
So thanks.
Yep, thank you. Congrats again.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we're gonna have Kristen Morris come on up here. So Kristen Morris is also a special education teacher, and she teaches special education at Elko High School. And she was nominated by Susie Ward, who indicated Susie Ward, the parent. Susie Ward is also an employee of the Elko County School District and definitely has a good idea for what it takes to do a good job. And so Susie Ward said the following about Kristen. She said, "I am writing to express my deep appreciation for Mrs. Morris, who has made an enormous impact on my child, and from what I have observed, the entire school community. Her dedication, professionalism, and commitment to bringing out the best in every student makes her an exceptional educator. And I wanted to take this opportunity to recognize her efforts. It has always been clear that Mrs. Morris is not only passionate about teaching, but is also fully invested in the success of her students. She goes beyond the classroom to create a supportive and enriching environment for her students. What stands out the most to me is Mrs. Morris's unwavering belief in the potential of every student. She has a remarkable ability to connect with her students and truly understands their strengths and needs. My children have benefited immensely from her guidance, and I have seen firsthand how she fosters a love of learning and encourages her students to reach their full potential. Her positive attitude and genuine care for their development create an environment where students feel valued and motivated. In addition to her exceptional teaching, Mrs. Morris demonstrates a level of professionalism and poise that makes her a role model for students and a trusted partner for parents. She communicates clearly and thoughtfully, keeps me informed, and is always open to discussing my concerns. It is clear she takes her role very seriously and is committed to the growth and success of my children. As a parent, I'm incredibly grateful for the positive impact Mrs. Morris has had on my children's education and overall well-being. She is truly an asset to Elko High School and the community, and I wholeheartedly support any recognition of her hard work and dedication." Thank you, Kristen.
Can I add something really quickly? So Mrs. Morris is my son's case manager, and I'm gonna get emotional. I honestly can hardly think of anyone more deserving for this award. She has had a great impact on my son also. And she's just amazing. I could say so many things about her in meetings with teachers. I've never seen anyone. I've never had a, yeah. I've never had another teacher advocate for my kid like I do. And it's just really appreciated. And I just think you're amazing.
Yeah, and just so you know, the whole way back for after we visited your classroom today, Mr. Foss was walking with us on the way back, and he spent the entire time gushing about how excited he was to be able to get you a few years ago to transplant from down south to come join us, and how much of a win that was for Elko High School, for all the kids, for him as an administrator, for the staff to get an acquisition like Kristen Morris in their school, and you've done a great job ever since you've joined us. So, yeah. Oh, no.
That's a story for another day.
But anyway, yep, we're very glad to have you. Yep, perfect. Well, come around.
Thanks.
Congratulations
Thanks.
again.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. One more. There she is. Monica Stevenson, why don't you come on up here? So, since Susan, Neil, and I started kind of taking care of S.T.A.R.S together, we haven't had any repeats of past S.T.A.R winners. And we didn't talk about this. We visited her classroom today with first graders, right? Oh my gosh, they were so cute. It was such a just an amazing experience, and what well-behaved first graders too. They sat there very politely and listened, and it was such a good interaction. But back to what I was saying before. So Monica won a S.T.A.R.S Award back in March of the 2018-19 school year, and we haven't done any repeats. But the committee actually approached me this year and said, "Hey, would it be okay if we considered having someone receive it for a second time? And what would be a good number of years to wait for that?" And I think we kind of said, maybe after about 5 years or so, it's probably okay to start doing it again. So this is our first repeat that I know of since then. And the reason I give all that backstory is because for the last 2.5 years, she has received 15 different nominations from fellow staff members, from parents, from anonymous nominators. 15 is a lot. And I think it speaks greatly to how much, even if it was 5 years, 15 nominations would be a lot, right? And so these have been gathered up in the last 2.5 years. I'm not going to read 15 nominations. I'm not going to do that tonight. But I'm going to just grab a few snippets from a few of them. And I think that'll, Susan can send it around to all of you if you want to see everything everyone wrote. But here's just a few things. Bridget Wines, another ECSD employee, said that Monica is an exceptionally skillful and dedicated teacher who not only embodies professionalism, but also consistently goes above and beyond to support both students and fellow educators. Her ability to inspire a genuine love for learning among her students is truly remarkable, and she fosters a positive environment where every student feels valued and encouraged. Brian Jacobson, a fellow employee, said, "I have had the pleasure of working with Monica for the past 3 years. I have watched her work through personal troubles in her life and still find the ability to show up for her students with a smile. She always shows up for the students." Jennifer Brown, fellow employee, said, "Monica is a selfless teacher who cares deeply about her students, coworkers, and community, and she goes above and beyond to ensure the success of her students." Anna Carrillo, another fellow employee, "Monica maintains a love for her career and her students, and she is also willing to help when other teachers are struggling. All of the children love her personality and her sayings, and I even have a couple in mind." Let's see. Alyssa Smith, fellow employee, "Monica's rapport with her students and family is well known at Southside. My brother-in-law had her over 20 years ago, and he still remembers her as his favorite teacher." And you will find second graders who will tell you the same. Yeah, I could keep going on and on. It's obvious that she's well loved by her coworkers. A good chunk. Lots of times we get a lot of anonymous ones, but this one's loaded with coworkers who included their names. And in fact, I'm just noticing this person, Brian Jacobson, he nominated you a couple of times. It looks like he was adamant that you would get recognized again. So anyway, to sit there with her kids and with her, I sat on they were doing a little floor time, and I sat down with the kids and read these things to them, and I was doing some like on the fly word vocabulary adjusting so they would understand some of what that stuff meant. But they were just so happy and excited that their teacher was getting an award, and they love her, and it's obvious, and there's such a good environment in that room. And even as we were walking through the halls to get to her class, another teacher caught wind of what we were doing, and they're like, I got to be there for this one. So congratulations to you, not only on winning this award, but obviously having such a huge impact on all your coworkers and kids. Like it's obvious you're well loved, and so congratulations and thank you so much for what you do.
Mr. Cunningham for being here, my principal and my husband, and just appreciate everybody who nominated me. First, we don't do that for the recognition. So after 30 years of teaching, it means so much for this recognition. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Congrats again.
Thanks.
And before I forget, a big thank you to our sponsors who take care of our S.T.A.R.S awards and the gifts that go with those. And so thanks to Leanne's Floral Designs, we had some beautiful bouquets we handed out today, as well as thanks to Maverick Gaming and the Rotary Club of Elko Desert Sunrise and the S.T.A.R. And that is it for this item for me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson, and also to the S.T.A.R.S Committee for their work, and then as well as all the nominators as well. 1.06 is input from public. This is a non-action item. Is there any input at this time? Mr. Gavorski.
There it is. Okay, Scott Gavorski, Elko. I was recently appointed Government Affairs Chair of the Elko County Republican Party, so I'm speaking on their behalf tonight, not only to introduce myself, I want to say congratulations to all the members who recently run the election here, and a special congratulations to Brindley. I hope you get a lot of experience working with this group. I also wanted to reach out and let you know that as a party, we're here outside of elections as well. We're looking to keep the community engaged. So if each individual members of the board have something they would like to discuss with us, feel free to reach out. Or if the board collectively is doing stuff like the surveys that recently went out, please let us know and we'll be happy to distribute that through our communication networks. So again, just wanted to introduce myself and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you.
Any additional public comment? All righty, seeing none, we will then move to 2.01, the first of our action items. This is the reorganization of the Board of Trustees, and this evening we will be selecting a president, a clerk, representative of the Debt Management Commission, representative to NASB, and a legislative liaison, as well as a director and an alternate director to NASB, and finally an appointment to the chair S.T.A.R.S Committee. This is a little bit shorter list than it was last year. Most of the committees in which a board representative would have been approached to or appointed to last year, I've eliminated those through advice from Dr. Alsbury and discussion within the board. So just wanted to let folks know that's why it's a little bit shorter on that. If the board wants to put those appointments back in, they're welcome to do so. We just won't be doing that this evening. So with that, nominations do not require a second, and we will open it up to the board for nominations for president.
I nominate Matt McCarty for president. I think he's been doing great and I'd love to see him serve a little longer in that position.
I agree.
I agree as well.
I think we give him another year. Sounds good to me.
All righty, are there any other nominations?
No, I think you got this one. To be clear, I want to be president, but I think I need to wait a year. I think this is your year going forward, Matt, with continuity. We've talked about going with Dr. Alsbury coming through and working with our board, and I'd like to see where things are going, where we're at. So, no, I don't have any other nomination.
Okay, well, thank you. Then seeing none, we'll close nominations. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, then I appreciate it and I'm honored to continue to serve as your president. Thank you. Next up will be selection of the clerk.
I nominate Adriana for clerk, if she's willing.
And I was gonna nominate Teresa.
Do you both accept?
Sure.
All right. Do we have any other nominations?
I mean, I would put my name back in. I appreciate the opportunity to do it as well, but
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So we've got a bit of a horse race.
Mhm.
We've got Adriana, Teresa, and Mr. Josh. Any-
Josh, would you mind explaining just all of the duties of clerk to everyone since you've been doing it for the last year?
Well, the primary is to step in when the president is not here. So, and Mr. Matt McCarty has made that pretty easy. He's usually here. So, you over the review of and signing of different documents, those types of things. Trying to think, what else? I didn't know I needed to study for it. So. That's kind of primarily what it's been. It's just been there.
Supposed to make sure we do all our training.
Oh,
Board meeting minutes, who does that? Is that Cassie?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, yep. And yeah, so yeah, Cassie makes that easy if that's, kind of overseeing those. So, that's kind of all I've been involved in over the course of the year. So.
So I'm going to open this up first to Adriana. Do you want to say anything about yourself as to why?
I just feel like maybe Teresa will do a better job than me, but I'll do my best if I win.
Okay.
She has more experience.
Okay. Teresa, anything you'd like to say about either your nomination or about?
I would love to talk about my nomination. I think Adriana's, came on this board very hesitant and was, like, I'm not sure what I'm getting into. And I think she's done a great job. I think it would be great for her to have that experience and give her the opportunity to serve in that capacity. So I'm fully in support of my nominee.
Thank you. Anything else you wanted to add, Dr. Byers?
I've enjoyed being clerk, just having some of the, looking at different things you signed. It's a joy to be on, diplomas come up too as well. And so we've signed those, and that's just something kind of neat, but it's not a requirement. I appreciate the position in and of itself. But, I've always supported this board as a whole. And so whichever direction the board would like to go, I totally understand. And so, I'd just like to continue the position I'm in and continue to support the president and what we have and this board as well. So.
All righty. Any other nominations from the floor? Anybody else want to say anything else about the nominees? All right, then we will start with Adriana. Show of hands for Adriana for clerk of the board. All right, we have one. Thank you very much. And votes for Teresa. And one. And votes for Josh. All right, we have that taken care of then. So, Josh.
I'd also like to explain my vote, though.
Please, go ahead.
There were 3 people up here pitching for the position, and Josh was the one selling himself on it. And so I felt like he seemed the most willing, or the most, all 3 of you, I think, would do an amazing job. But that's what made my, just to throw that out there.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff.
I agree with Jeff. The wanting it is, I feel like he wanted the position, so that's what I appreciated.
All righty. Our next one up then will be selection of the representative of the Debt Management Commission. This is a required position as the County Debt Management Commission has appointees from boards. This is one of we have a seat on that commission under statute, I believe.
Yes.
And Jeff currently is our representative.
Yes.
Generally 2 meetings
I had
a year.
2 meetings last year. One was very short. I believe it was, in fact, that first meeting was to approve the purchase of 5 work trucks for the West Wendover Recreation District. And then the annual meeting we had, which is a little more in depth, was nice because you got to see different numbers and different budgets from all the various municipalities and boards and organizations that handle and service debt throughout the county. It's a good opportunity to network, to get out and meet, because you're there with the mayors and with representatives from the county commission, and you basically just look in on debt. But it's really, as far as commitment of time, it's absolutely real easy to maintain this one. It's only a day or 2 of the whole year. So I'm happy to continue. I'm happy to turn that over to someone else if they would like to get that experience too, because it's not, it's more of a sit and listen kind of a position, and just you make sure everything's going there. But the impression I got this past year was that everybody on that is really sharp and knew what was going on, and it goes by the book. So it's a neat process to witness. I'd love for someone else to be able to see that.
Are there nominations for the Debt Management Commission representative?
I would like to nominate Brooke. I think she's, when it's about money and, you're buying things or selling things, she's always on top of things. So I think she will do a great job.
I concur.
Great. Do you accept?
Sure.
All right. Are there other nominations? All right.
I think she'd be great.
Perfect. Then through acclamation, we'll have Brooke be our Debt Management Commission. Thank you very much. Next up is going to be our representative to NASB. We have 3 positions: Legislative Liaison, Director, and an alternate director. The Legislative Liaison is of particular importance this year because of the legislative session that begins here in about 30 days. So with that, I'll open up nominations for that.
I will nominate Jeff for that position. I think he's done a great job as our director. And I think the legislative process is something that, he's pretty interested in and has a lot of experience to share with us. So I would like to nominate Jeff for that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Is there another recommendation or nomination for legislative liaison? All right, seeing none, then we'll do that by acclamation as well. So thank you, Jeff. And for director nominations.
Now, everybody knows I've been doing this for a while, and I would love if somebody can step up and do it, but it's something you got to do. This one does require time, travel. It's a great opportunity. Susan, Teresa, and I were able to earn our certified public official certifications, and that is in no small part due to NASB and being able to attend those meetings and those conferences and things. So if someone's looking for that opportunity and wants to get that, then I'd love for them to be able to do it. That being said, it is a legislative year. I love what's going on. I'm getting more and more involved with leadership in NASB and enjoy it too. So, but like I say, if someone's wanting that experience and wanting to shoot for that certification, this is your best pathway towards that.
Susan, are you interested in NASB and being a director? I'd like to put your name forward for this.
I'm not sure what you have to do for it besides travel. What do you mean by that?
There's 4, no, it's more than 4. Is it 4 meetings, regular meetings? And then we meet quarterly, and then typically your training is the day later. The meetings consist of generally going over the financials of the organization, making sure everything's run straight. But Tom does an amazing job with that and presenting that. We talk quite a bit about the direction we want to go with our lobbyists, and we get a lot of feedback from them too, as far as what's kind of the temperature of the legislature, what's going on, what's the hot item. And so those kinds of things come up in those discussions. And you definitely, if you want to have some input on that, you can. It's fun to be able to speak up in those meetings, and you get to bounce ideas and collaborate with, a lot of the smartest minds around the state.
Okay.
When it comes to these subjects. So I've learned a tremendous amount and spending time and being able to go to these.
Okay.
I just want to make sure if we do get somebody in there that it's going to be someone that'll go. And if they can't, we also have that alternate too. So
Okay.
that would be something if someone's wanting to take this, I'd love to go alternate and be able to fill in where I can.
Okay.
But even legislative liaison is going to get me still involved. So
Okay.
I'm fine however the board wants to go.
Great.
Yeah.
All righty. Any other nominations for director?
Again, I think, we pretty much have a spot for everybody here. So I already serve on the executive committee for NASB. So being, I would volunteer to be the alternate.
Perfect, because that was my next recommendation.
Yeah. So I would volunteer to be the alternate. I guess my question would be kind of jumping ahead a little bit, because I think everybody should have an opportunity to serve in a different, in a position. There are 7 of us, there are 7 positions. So I guess the question would be between Susan and Adriana, which of you would prefer to do STARS and which of you would prefer to do NASB? Or are you willing to do one or the other?
Well, and this year, I'm not gonna be able to travel much, just for personal stuff. So would you like to do NASB
Yeah.
director?
And then would you be willing to do STARS? Can we do 2 nominations at once, Matt?
I see no reason
Three.
why. Technically, I would see
That's-
three with Susan being director for NASB, Teresa being the alternate for NASB, and Adriana being the STARS chair. Are there other nominations for any of those 3 positions? All righty, sounds good. Then we'll do that again by acclamation as well. Great. Thank you all. That is the reorganization of the board.
I have a quick question.
Please.
So you serve on, what is the committee called that you served on?
Thank you so much for that. I was just going to bring that up too, is the
Yeah.
AB 519
Because
is not on here.
that is something that does require a board member to serve on.
Yep. And that's not on here, so we'll have to.
You're
I thought
right.
that We were just going through all of them.
Yep,
actually.
we'll need to add that to the agenda for our next meeting.
I just
Yeah,
thought of
'cause-
that as we were going through these.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good because that wasn't on the January of last year. That was something that it was like
Yeah, that was a newer
February
one.
or March that we had to put that in there.
So,
So
and just for future, that's like, I think it's once a quarter we're
it's a quarterly
meeting.
meeting.
And it's really, right now it's just review because the project in and of itself is very slow. is the Way to put it.
Following the
slow
legislative
pace.
session, we may need to change policy BA and BAB or whatever those policies are and add this as part of our reorganization meeting as well, just to get it all in one. But that'll follow, I would suggest following the end of the legislative session, just in case there are any changes to that committee. But in the meantime, at the next meeting, I think we should do the AB 519 representative. Great call. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else on this item? All right. Thank you all very much. Then we'll continue moving on to 2.02 is receipt, review, and possible approval of the 2025-26 Elko County Site Administrators Association, ECSSAA, intent to bargain. This is for possible action.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's the whatever.
Perfect.
it
All
is
right,
we
there's a
do with
motion to
the
approve and a
ask
second.
every year, but
Any discussion?
I just real quick, remind me again, because it's been a year, we can't just throw it on the consent agenda with these? Or can we? Does anyone know?
I would suggest, I would think that theoretically we can put whatever we want on the consent agenda because we're
But I
still
mean, like
taking
with this
action.
being at the nature of it, is it something that's highly offensive to throw on the consent agenda? Or is it fine to, just for the sake of time? That's all.
I would,
I don't see why we couldn't.
Okay, I would just as a suggestion then in discussion would be in the future to throw this on consent agenda. Because every day, I think every year that I've been here, somebody, whether it's Teresa, or wait, hey, let's approve that we've seen this.
Right.
So, which,
I think
We
that would
just
make
used
sense.
2 years up.
yeah, yeah, so,
Right.
anyway, so, all right, cool.
Because I don't think legally we can reject it.
Well, I don't
We
even know
don't
that
have
we are
the,
rejecting,
we don't
right?
have the
Just-
ability to say, no, we're not going to recognize their
Yeah,
intent to negotiate unless there's a competing.
Right, there's a competing entity that was
Yep.
trying to claim that right to negotiate or whatever,
Right.
which hasn't been the case.
We don't
for
have,
us,
okay,
so.
cool.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
anyways,
it's-
just
that's
as
what
a thought exercise then, please.
Perfect. I think it's a good thought exercise. All in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. 2.03 is receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed changes to policy JDFD, student discipline, procedure for administering discipline, formal due process. This is for possible action. There are a number of attachments here. 2 of them have my name attached to them, and the reason for that is after this was reviewed the first time, I believe at one of the November meetings, there was a subsequent follow-up with some other changes that had been suggested. Rather than going back onto a redlined addition that was already there, I wanted it specified as to what the additional changes were. So the McCarty edits documents assume that the policy JDFD Red 3 document has been, or will be approved. So I used the Red 3 as the base for all of my edits. So keep in mind that if we're changing Red 3 and we want to accept the McCarty edits, then we just need to keep that consistent. So with that, I'll open it up for presentation and or discussion.
I just want to make sure I understand, like on your edits, Matt, most of your edits added more specific detail as far as days. That's really the biggest difference I saw, is that?
Correct. Yeah, I tried to put some timelines within there so that it either expanded or contracted what those times were. For example, there wasn't a timeline previously for when an investigation needed to take place. So I think I put in there, let's have it wrapped up within 5 days. Obviously, there are some times it may take longer, but that's at least a starting point. Then there are some other things where it had just stated that we're going to have this hearing and within 5 days you're going to get notified. But theoretically, it could have been, hey, by the way, tomorrow at noon we're having this meeting, so you better be there. So this just specified we need to give parents and or students the ability to have a little bit of heads up. Not that any of our current personnel would do this, but just to kind of line that out. Also made most of the changing actually also changed to recommendation, because at this point, these are recommendations, not actual finite rulings, so to speak.
Okay. And so this timeline is similar to what's being done already? No?
In consultation with the superintendent, yes.
Okay.
That's what I was looking for, was a recommendation from you on which of these, what we're looking at.
Sure. Yeah. So just to kind of elaborate a little bit more on what Matt said, I would say that not only do his assume things about the Red 3, but in the aftermath of the some of the suggestions that were given at the November meeting, that produced the JDFD first Red 3 and final, and then there were further suggestions after we created those. And so Matt's, the ones that are labeled McCarty edits red line, that also reflects further suggestions. So if we weren't going to, yeah, this may require yet another round of editing, and that's totally fine. It's no problem. We can edit as many times as we want. That's what our policy allows for. But so to answer your question directly, Jeff, if I were going to recommend one of these to be the one that is approved without other edits, then it would be the ones that are labeled McCarty. However, I will say that from further discussion, I still think we probably still have a couple more edits to do that yeah, that have other thoughts and ideas that have come up since the agenda was posted on Thursday of last week. So, and I'm sure some of those will come up in the discussion tonight. But we're very happy to, and it's just like as a side note of everything here too, remember that this whole process, like there's usually one of two things that's happening when you're making a revision of policy. You're either trying to adjust practice to reflect a policy, or you're trying to adjust a policy to reflect practice. And what we've discovered as we've gone on to looking through this one is this is a policy that was implemented in 1997. I've jokingly told some people I was in high school in 1997, and so a lot of time has passed since then. So things have changed as time has gone on. And so, full admission, like, no, the 1997 version of this policy is not being followed to the letter today. But that's no different than almost every other revision of policy we've done as a board. Like, you're usually trying to do, again, one of those things. You're trying to make one reflect the other. It means there's some lack of continuity between the two. And so, that's the determination you're trying to make. We've given you our recommendations, but if there's further discussion or other edits that we feel we want to make, then that's what you're here for. But it's probably worth mentioning that there's been no willful lack of adherence to policy. That's not what anyone's doing. So places where maybe the policy isn't being followed exactly, that's because there's been a gradual change in practice over time. And so anyway, those are our recommendations and probably discussion time.
Mr. Chair, if this current policy JDFD McCarty edits final is reflection of current practice and this works well, then I move that we approve policy JDFD McCarty edits final, which assumes the red line as well.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Further discussion? All righty, as Mr. Anderson said, there may still need to be additional edits, but this at least gets us something based to a new baseline to be able to move on. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. 2.04 is receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed policy JDFG, student discipline, procedures for administering discipline, appeals. This also is for possible action and is similar to the last one following the November meeting and then subsequent meetings with a board member and our superintendent. There were some tweaks that still needed to happen, so I proposed another change to these ones as well. Again, this assumes that the document within board docs titled policy JDFG red, that takes that as the new baseline, and then the McCarty edits red line or McCarty edits final takes that into consideration. So with that, presentation and or discussion.
Yeah, so ditto to a lot of the things from last item, and thank you, Matt. With this one, there are, I think, I'm going to tell you a few areas that I think we need to talk about real quick. I appreciate it. Thank you for approving the last one. I'm not sure we're in a position to approve this one tonight, and I'll tell you why, and you can tell me if it's a major, or maybe you can approve it with X edits. I know we've done that before, so if it's easier to do it that way, we can. So one note to make is at the top, the very first paragraph that's in blue line, it does reference that this policy may not necessarily apply to students under the age of 11 and or students with disabilities in accordance with the referenced NRS. A great suggestion by Brooke from a conversation we had earlier today is, well, if it doesn't apply, if this may not apply to those situations, where could there be application for appeals for students in those situations? And so we'll likely be looking at another policy that's very specific to our students under the age of 11 and or students with disabilities. So just fair warning, I guess, that's on the horizon. The other pretty important element that maybe you could just, if you are in a mood to approve this tonight and want to approve with an edit in both sections 2 and 4, it says something along the lines of, so on 2, it says on the same day that a significant suspension or expulsion is upheld under JDFD 10. And then in 4, it says, whose significant suspension, expulsion, or permanent expulsion was upheld under JDFD 10. It's worth noting that not all significant suspensions are subject or are eligible for due process. So this, as stated, sort of implies that all significant suspensions go through policy JDFD 10, and we know that's not true. Only the ones that are greater than 3 days do.
No,
So
greater than.
Oh, sorry, greater than 8 days do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
8 or 10.
Well, it's 10.
It's 10, but it's really 8.
It's 10, but it's really 2 school weeks, so we
Yeah.
call it 8. So we would need probably some sort of additional edit, and Matt's probably already typing something as we're talking about it, but something that clarifies that a significant suspension greater than 8 days in there in order to make that to make it correct and jive with JDFD 10. Yeah. And I think,
you should use the same wording that is used in JDFD, which is for 9 or more consecutive days is how it's worded in JDFD under
Right.
long-term suspension.
instead of saying
Just-
greater than 8, say 9 or
Yeah,
more. Yeah.
9 or more. So that those just
Yeah,
match up better.
totally agree.
Mhm.
Yep. And I think those are the only kind of caveats or anything I needed to add for this one.
Because we're in 4, we're gonna need to detail how, when, and what notice is given to the significant suspensions of 3 to 8 days. Somehow.
And on our end, this, this is going to create a little bit of work for Paul. We're going to have some new documents, updated language in those documents, and we can be sure once all those, and those would be for due process hearings, for appeal hearings. Once we get all those updated following approval of policies, I can share those with you so you can see what those look like and to make sure they reflect.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Yep.
Additional comments? All right, so go ahead, please, Brooke.
Sorry. So I had on the back, let's see, under 7, it says, let's see, there shall be no new evidence presented, nor shall witnesses be allowed. Rather, the appeal decision must be limited to review of the principal or designee's decision in cases of significant suspension less than 9 days, or the superintendent or designee's due process decision. So I feel like where it says principal or designee's decision, that or designees needs to be crossed out there, because it would just be the principal's decision in those suspensions that are 3 to 8 days. Right?
A vice principal could be making that determination.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the intent of adding that in there, was that,
Or it
If-
could be a dean.
Because when I'm thinking of designee, I'm thinking more district level, but
No.
I see
Right.
what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
additional comments? Okay, please.
Okay, one more comment. So I was not able to be here during the November meeting, but I did watch it on YouTube. And know that Jeff was suggesting that all expulsions get moved to the Board of Trustees. And I was just curious what the board's thoughts are on that now, after we have the data on how many permanent expulsions and expulsions that there have been. Just to make sure that, like Josh was saying, that if we're taking that from the board, that we're okay with that and that we like where it sits. So I'd just like to hear more discussion on that, since that was brought up before.
I'm going to jump in briefly. That was my initial concern as well, of that, all right, wait a minute, we're removing this authority from the board. And in looking into it further, it wasn't actually removing anything from the board. This process clarifies things and doesn't necessarily give us any more, but it's not taking away anything either from what we're already doing. So it does say that we are getting that information and it's written in policy now. It's in practice, it hasn't necessarily gotten back to us, but no, in rereading it again, it does not appear that there is anything removing authority of the board, if that helps any.
Yeah, so I'll just clarify my original. My original was in the legality of it, not necessarily our policy or practices. The legality of it does fall on the board and then dispersing that to the superintendent at that point. So, yeah, we're not necessarily losing anything, but in a time when we're reviewing everything in current policy, I wanted to make sure the board was doing that as well, and that we were looking at, okay, this is what we've done in the past. Most of us were put in this position because of, the trajectory of the board previous. And so I just wanted to make sure that we were getting a good, healthy look at it and making sure that, okay, is this something, is this something we need to look at? So, not that any one person is doing a bad job or that I have anything against any organization, just that, hey, legally, this is how it's written. But I know that standard process and procedures that we have currently are in a different direction, so So yeah, so we're not really technically losing anything, but, you know, this is something we need to step into. So, but so anyways, just to clarify my original intent. So.
Do you have anything to add?
Not especially. I received a couple letters on it. And then in seeing the numbers, the occurrence is so small anyway, too, that it's not, you know, I don't feel like the change there is a big deal, for lack of a better word. It's not an issue. I think it would be a better way to state it.
If I could jump in with one more comment, Matt.
Please.
I want to apologize that because certainly there have been some long-term suspensions, things that were statutorily required, et cetera. You know, I don't like to make excuses, but plain and simple, I was doing the job the way I was very loosely taught how to do the job and following board kind of historical board meetings. And so, and that, again, that's the point of why we do policy review, is to make sure things reflect each other. And so I would imagine would imagine you wouldn't mind seeing those when they happen. And I'm perfectly happy to report on those as they occur. And should that be the will of the board, then I'm happy to, Paul and I can work on putting together a report of what's happened up to this point of the school year. And then from moving forward, we can make sure to have them be kind of at the immediately following meeting when situations do occur that meet the description of what JDFD says. I know we're on JDFG now, but want to make sure you have the information you're looking for. And again, no willful withholding of information, just you know, want to make sure we're doing it right and want to provide you with what you're looking for.
You know, one more thing I wanted to add that to is that parents, children, you know, citizens of Elko County, anybody really, my email address is as far away as the website, and that goes for all of us. And so I think if there's a problem, you're always welcome to reach out. And certainly, you know, I'm not going to solve it myself, but we're going to, it's happened over the years already. I'm proud of a couple situations that have come up to me, you know, privately, that I've been able to just put in the right direction without having to do anything or make any decision. Just make sure that the right person sees it. And I want to make sure that the public knows that we're out there, that even if this policy might take something out of our hands or review, look, if you want us to look at something, we will. It's as easy as sending an email out or catching us here in a meeting, or myself, you know, when I'm at work at my business, I'm happy to talk. It happens all the time. I'm happy to talk to people, and I just want to make sure that that's out there. People know that they're able to do that.
I'll just second that too as well. We, you know, I did run the practice pretty efficiently, but I get stopped in the back all the time with folks. So you're not alone. You know, it's a, hey, what's going on with this or what's going on with that? And if we can get it solved, then great. If not, get them in the right direction. So, but yeah, no, I get that too as well. So.
Have you got any suggested edits you're typing away madly?
So I think I may, but I want to make sure I'm clarifying what the concerns of Mr. Anderson and Trustee Ballard were. You're saying there's kind of a donut hole between 3 days and 8 days. Am I understanding that
So-
correctly?
What,
Oh, sorry.
do you want to say it, or do you want me to?
I was just gonna say, yeah, between 3 and 8 days, when it says in here on the same day that that a significant suspension or expulsion is upheld under policy JDFD. So the problem with that is significant suspensions also in this policy includes the 3 to 8 days that have not gone through policy JDFD through that due process. And so we have to differentiate that somehow in here and say on the same day that a significant suspension of 3 to 8 days, and have that in there in a separate section from significant suspensions of 9 or more days or expulsions is upheld under policy JDFD, because that policy doesn't apply to 3 to 8 day suspensions. And same thing under 4. It says that again. was upheld under policy JDFD, which the 3 through 8 day suspensions wouldn't have gone through that process.
And so part of the legal wrangling here, the verbiage that's put in here is because of the Nevada revised statutes. Nevada revised statute for policy JDFD does not define a significant suspension, but the Nevada revised statute specific to JDFG does define that significant suspension. And so that's part of why there's this thing in here, why it's not covering the same on both. Under the current, or under the proposed JDFG, Section 1C defines significant suspension as 3 or more consecutive days. So we know that the definition is there, but if I'm understanding correctly, your concern is that JDFD doesn't cover anything less than an 8-day suspension or a 9-day suspension, correct? Okay. So to your question, Teresa, yes, I thought I had an edit, but it was based on adding language in that still wouldn't have addressed Brooke's concerns. So I think we do need to have something in there. I'm just trying to figure out how exactly we phrase that. And we could simply say under both 2 and 4, on the same day that a significant suspension or expulsion is upheld under policy JDFD 10, or a significant suspension not covered under policy JDFD, and then continue forward. Because really we're still using that same definition here. It's just that sometimes it's covered under JDFD and other times it's not. So
Would it be easier to just remove under policy JDFD 10 from both of those sections? So it'd
And-
read on the same day that like item 3 on this one, on the same day that a permanent expulsion is upheld, the superintendent shall notify in writing, et cetera, et cetera. So just remove the language under policy JDFD 10. Would that?
I think I kind of like what Matt was saying before better. I think if you just added in another, like a comma and something that says, and all significant suspensions not applicable or covered by JDFD 10, if you did that to both 2 and 4, I think that would, because it not only differentiates that was never available as an option for JDFD, and it also still holds us to the timeline of when we have to do things. It just clarifies that. So I think that would, I'd say Brooke nodding too, I think that would cover it if you just did that in both 2 and 4.
And Teresa, it's been longer than breakfast this morning, so I'm trying to remember what exactly it was. And I think the reason that I added originally that language of JDFD 10 was because some of the decisions within JDFD aren't appealable. And that was to specify that only these ones under this subsection go to this next step. And so I think that's why I added that language.
Right, and I appreciate that. So yeah, if we can add, more specific language after that comma, then I think that'd be.
So can you read that how it would be then?
Absolutely. Let me
That's
switch
what
between these two.
I thought it needed to be changed, but I couldn't figure out how to change it.
So 2 on policy JDFG, 2 would potentially now read, on the same day that a significant suspension or expulsion is upheld under policy JDFD 10, or all significant suspensions not covered under JDFD 10, the superintendent designee, et cetera, et cetera. And then 4 would have basically the same language, a pupil, or if the pupil is under 18 years of age, the parent or legal guardian of a pupil whose significant suspension, expulsion, or permanent expulsion was upheld under policy JDFD 10, and all significant suspensions not covered under JDFD 10 may file an appeal not later than 5 school days.
I think your additional language, you would kick the 10 part out, I think you would just say JDFD because nothing about a suspension of 3 to 8 days fits in anything under JDFD. So it's not specifically 10 for the other ones. The way you have it now is correct, but the additional language that we're talking about, I think we
Right,
just
that makes
leave it at
sense.
JDFD.
So to clarify then, this would theoretically allow someone suspended less than 9 days in automatic appeal,
Right.
but only those suspensions of 9 days or greater that qualify under JDFD 10 would have an appeal. I don't know what circumstance the 9-day suspension would not fall under JDFD 10, but because we're saying all suspensions, there could be a potential where someone with a less significant suspension is getting an appeal above someone who would have a more significant suspension, the way this is currently written. But I don't know that that's
The other folks would have had a chance at due process though, whereas the 3 to 8 did not. And so
Perfect.
there's an avenue
Yep.
for having someone else hear that decision regardless. One's just by statute appealable to the board and the other, there is no statute governing it. It's just what our school district practice has been.
thinking that was what I was trying to wrap my head around, is that's right. They haven't had
Yeah,
due
the
process.
3 to 8 would not have,
Yep.
would not have had an opportunity for the fact finder panel and all that. So that would just go straight to the appeal process.
Okay, then to clarify, the new language that could be proposed to JDFG sections 2 and 4 following policy JDFD 10 would add and all significant suspensions not covered under JDFD.
And that would not apply to section 3
That would not apply to
and
section
4,
3.
correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Because 3 is very specifically about a
Yep.
permanent expulsion.
sure we have that clarified.
And it differentiates enough under 6, we don't need to change that because it has the A, the superintendent's designee in cases of suspensions less than 9
Yep.
days. So it was broken out there, so.
Okay, Mr. Chair, recognizing that there is discussion possible after a, after we, gosh, the word has left me. I should have just gone forward. Give me a sec. What is the word I'm looking for,
After a
Matt?
motion,
After a motion, thank you. Motion would not come to me. After a motion, I move that we accept policy JDFG with the red line and the McCarty edits, and also adding in on items 2 and 4 and/or all significant suspensions not covered under JDFD, whichever is appropriate there. Cassie, sorry about that long motion.
And I do have that. Sorry, is there a second?
Can we, sorry, well, maybe I do it after that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I
I
said. We
would
can still
rather like
discuss after
look
the
at it
motion.
one more time after all that gets put in instead of,
Without a second, this will die,
It's fine.
and then we can go from there. So is there a second? Okay, lack of second, that motion dies. And so, Susan, if I'm understanding your suggestion, let's put that in, then redistribute that and vote on it again at the next meeting?
Yeah,
Or take
'cause I
action on it at
wanted
the
to-
next meeting?
see it instead of trying to hear it. And
Sure.
yeah, for me, that's
Thank you.
easier. Sorry.
Okay, if there's no further action on this, we will let it lie. We are required under statute to bring this back up, so it will come back up. Just want to clarify, this is not one of those times where no action means it goes away. So we'll table this and we'll bring it back. Perfect, all right. And I'll get that language, Cassie, over to you so that we can add that in fairly easily. In fact, actually, I'll just add it in and then just send you, Rob, and CJ the new proposal with what we discussed tonight so that we can strip that out if need be. And also just to clarify while we're still on here, Brooke, to your point about needing that information of those under the age of 11, this is a legislative issue. Unfortunately, the legislature, I think, just didn't recognize when they were passing things, because they specifically call out that if it's under 11, some things just don't apply. It doesn't matter. And so this is one of those things where it doesn't matter, but yet we still may have that issue. So I just wanted to clarify, this is not a policy or a practice of the board or of the district. This is a legislative issue that we'll fix the best we can, but unfortunately, we just can't pass laws, darn it. All right, we'll go from there. Before we move on here, I want to kind of echo what Jeff and Josh had said as well. I mean, I appreciate the comments that we've received, particularly from our staff and our administrators that have, just expressed some concern about whether or not nobody said we're overstepping, but that was kind of one of those concerns of make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I appreciate that. My intent was never to say, oh, well, they don't know what they're doing. Let's, take this over. Initially, my first concern was, all right, we are giving away the authority of the board. And I think we need to be very careful on that. So that's where that initially came from. And then the more I started digging into it, the more I was like, okay, let's clarify some of this. And some of it does protect the district a little bit more as well, so that a parent or student can't come in an hour before the hearing and say, you need to give me all this stuff. They have to give us time to react as well. So that was my intention on that. So look forward to seeing the next meeting when we can hopefully get this approved, and it'll make it better for our students and for the district. Okay, 2.05 is receipt, review, and discussion of proposed changes to policy DHF, travel and other employee reimbursements. This is a non-action item. Ms. Stulke, come on up.
Good evening. As it says, I've been going through old policies, and this one is just to combine about 3 or 4 of them. Another change that we had was that I implemented a travel authorization form. So this gave administrators a little bit of guidance on what travel actually needed that form, whether it was within their scope of work or if it was something outside like professional development, et cetera. We did receive a suggestion on board travel, so I will be making a change before the next reading to include how the board will request travel, which they would have the form completed, but then it would go on the consent agenda, so then you could all vote upon it.
And this is non-action item. This is the time to propose or to make suggestions of any changes regarding this policy. So are there comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a couple. I think this policy actually needs to be rewritten from the top down. We have several examples. If you go to 5D, it's got 4 bullet points packed into one item. And then if you move down to E, it talks about details must include, and it stays consistent 1 through 5. But then once you get to 6, that's a whole new, that's not something that's supposed to be included on a travel form. That goes back to regulation. So it kind of needs to be split up and reformatted. And then the other point I had was it says without exception, all travel requests must be approved in advance by the employee's immediate supervisor. I guess you've talked about the board, but also who would the superintendent ask?
He's been asking the board president. That's how it's been going through. And then on the comment that you make on the bullet points, towards the end, I believe that it is talking about the reimbursement form, and on the reimbursement form, it does talk about meal and mileage per diem.
Back again, which one?
You,
Talking about
6?
E6?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe if we have the form in
But
front
that's
of
not
us.
something you include on that's a statement. That isn't directing you to include that information on, that's already covered up here. And the same, but if you follow every one of those bullet points after 6, 7, 8, those are all things that are conditional. They're not something that you write on a travel form. They shouldn't be under this is included on a travel form.
But it would help you fill out the travel. form.
Certainly it would, but it's not information that you include on it. Specifically how it's written, it's not.
So Jeff,
Yeah.
if I'm hearing
The name
correctly,
of the
you-
traveler, the mode of transportation, the purpose of the trip, those are all actual items you include on a form. Those beyond 6 are now guidance, not actual things you include on the
I get what
form.
you're saying.
so maybe you're suggesting then that
That guidance, I
The-
believe, should be before what you include on the form, not after.
I will say, having filled out the form a little bit myself, a lot of the things after 6 are like, we are including those things now. So if you're thinking about the reimbursement form, that's different from the travel form. There's a travel form, because we haven't asked you guys to fill it out. Have we? Have we asked board members to fill that new one out?
The reimbursement
No,
form?
the travel form.
The authorization
Yeah, the
form?
authorization form. 'Cause-
Yeah,
So because the authorization form asks for, it does ask for how much you're going to be spending on Ubers, on lodging, on like it's kind of an estimate ahead of traveling that you're supposed to have calculated all that out and put on the authorization form. That's what I'm reading when I see that. So on the authorization form, that's what we're talking about, right? Okay, so on the travel authorization form, like 6, for example, is reimbursements for mileage. So like I'm saying how much is gonna need to be, I'm stating that stuff out. If you go down to 10, public transportation, 11, and you're right, there is some guidance mixed in there with it. But several of those things are also included on the authorization form. But I see that they're intermingled. I hadn't thought about them as different.
Yeah, they're not part of
kind of,
the specific
yeah.
ABC of the travel form.
So then just to take, for example, 10. 10 starts with public transportation, taxi, and ride share, in example, Uber costs. That will need to be put onto the authorization form, but Jeff, you're saying that the rest of that follows is more guidance, not
Yeah.
what needs to be in there. So perhaps if we just ended that and said public transportation, taxi, and ride share costs, period.
Yeah.
These must be supported by further on.
Or
Because
do you
then
think-
it's,
Or do you think you need to separate, is what
No,
you're
I
saying
mean,
is separate the
it starts
things?
out doing it one way. Your first 5 points are specific items, but then it splits off to this.
Yeah,
as
Look,
I see.
I went through this, as you know, and I looked through a bunch of it, and it's confusing.
Okay, I'll try to rewrite it. As I see it right now, as I navigate through the form, I think I'm visualizing each of those line items with the guidance there because there's a lot of confusion internally when it comes to finding GSA rates and all the guidance. So that's why I included it in
When
there.
that being said, I think that we should rely even more on the GSA rates because that information specifically that I was looking at, I didn't find in our policy, I found on the government website.
Okay.
As to why different things are the way they are. And we don't list that specific instance out in the policy at all.
I just read it a different way than you did because 5 is procedure. And to me, all of that fits with procedure. Because if you have a new person that is filling out one of those forms for the first time, it's nice to know, oh, I need to do this.
Well-
But I understand your,
I think a
Point of
good
view is-
approach would be to take the form and go step by step so the form matches the policy. In order.
the form does kind of follow
And vice
the
versa.
policy. I don't know what you mean by that.
Oh, I mean, if I'm being honest, I've never seen the form, so I wouldn't know at this point either. So I get having a policy, like making it easy for folks to fill it out. Totally get that. I get having things separate as far as requirements. So maybe even just doing both and separating what's required in there for your 1 through whatever. Let's say it's 10 or 13. Like that's whatever your numbered boxes are, and then having an actual form attached to it as far as this is where you get your information. Is that what you're talking about, Jeff? Is separating the two?
I just format top to the bottom. We're looking at a policy. How old was this one? 2008. It just, I think it could be reformatted. Again, like I said, 5D, if you look, has four different, it could be, 5D could be D, E, F, and G.
This was revised in 2023, right?
Yeah.
And we approved it then with what's on there. Except for the blue.
The new language in blue.
Oh, when we, remember, this was the Visa form, right? We were trying to do the credit card thing.
Yep.
I think I remember that.
I mean, I understand the point because what we want to get people to realize is you can't just claim every meal when the conference has fed you every meal or, I mean, if you don't put that somewhere. 'Cause that doesn't
In
say
no
it
way am
on
I
the
suggesting
form.
we eliminate any of this.
I think I hear what you're
It
saying,
needs
Jeff.
to be reorganized.
And
Yeah.
Cassie and I can look at it and see if there's a different way of reformatting it. I think the content is substantial and important. It may just be, we can look at another way of organizing. I think I got it.
And as Cassie stated at the beginning, there was a suggestion on the board side of things. And that had come through as well when I was reading through of saying, where do we go? And so it will be clarified that superintendent's travel would go to board president or clerk or designee, whatever it may be, and that board members, the consent agenda would have that as the approval process. So just to clarify that, that will be in the red line that's presented for action. Any further discussion or guidance for staff?
I had a question on number 5, procedure A. Just out of curiosity, I guess, or maybe I'm not understanding it correctly. Who approved that before? Like, so am I understanding that if a teacher at a school wanted to go to a professional development conference on, I don't know, on something, on reading, it has to be approved by the superintendent first, not your principal? Like how, maybe I'm not reading
I
it.
think the key word on there is may, but we can change that so it can go to the site administrator. And then after the site administrator, there is 2 approvals on that form, then it would go to a director.
Okay. I'm just thinking that, I don't know how many people go to a conference in a year, teacher-wise or staff-wise. But I was just thinking, does he have to approve every single one that comes to him? Why doesn't that go through chain of command? But
Okay.
I'm not arguing one way or the other. I was just wondering who approved that beforehand then. Because does it come out of the school budget?
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily say teacher there, so we can change
Just
that
anybody.
to, yeah, just supervisor administrator, because if it was one of us internally, it most likely would go to CJ. So,
Okay.
yeah, we can just make that
And
clear.
I'm not asking you necessarily to change anything. I just.
No, I
wasn't
think that
sure I
would
understood it.
make it more clear.
And I was reading that portion as without pay deduction. I had assumed if somebody wanted to go for a national conference, well, you're losing pay. You can go. And if that was approved through the principal side, but that you were losing pay is how I was reading that. So I was reading this as the superintendent was now saying, yes, this is important. Go to this national conference and you're not losing pay. But maybe that's my naivety of how it works in the system.
You'd find that very few people would ever do that because that really messes up your retirement if you're missing a day without pay and stuff.
Also, a section on district cars would be good.
Say that again, Jeff.
District cars, when they're not available, how they should be used, the duration, that kind of.
And we do have something, because I know that we had discussed that previously about making, especially for board travel, making sure that we go out to either the nearest site or central office to make sure that there's a vehicle available. But is that on the form or is that within policy? I don't recall.
It's on the form, on the travel request form, and then on the reimbursement form, it says that you can't be reimbursed at the higher rate unless you have prior authorization or that you can prove that a district car wasn't available.
I thought it was policy too, but I just couldn't recall where it was. Can't find it?
Really?
Okay. So that may
We'll
be
look for it.
something good to
I
add in
thought
there.
we passed that too. Yeah. Because I filled out a form for,
GSA website, but that's the only place I've been able to find it,
Yeah, I can go back and
other than on the form.
I'm pretty sure it's in policy because when I was going through and combining them, I remember seeing it, that it says a district car shall be used.
Yeah,
So I'll go back and find
I
it.
remember that too.
Okay, great, thank you. If that could be clarified, if somebody else finds that sooner, then just let's make sure Cassie knows that we're not wasting her time looking for it. Okay, further discussion. All right, then we will go ahead and move along. Cassie, thank you for putting this together. 3.01 is our consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion on the table. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. 4.01 is superintendent's report.
Hello. I'm just, are you gonna, Jeff, are you gonna talk about the NASB awards or no?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I'll take it, because I don't have a whole lot more to share. It's, I guess I will share that, since our,
2024.
I know, right? It was totally last year. So I will report on, I made a visit to, the Legislative Council Bureau Subcommittee on Education Accountability, and got to present there. And my hope was that they would be very distracted by Washoe and Clark also being there that day, and they were all very nice. And so we gave a nice presentation. I gave a nice presentation, thanks to I had several district personnel help me put that together, and thanks to them, it went well. They had a few follow-up questions on what's going on with our tuition agreements with neighboring in Owyhee and with Eureka and White Pine. So gave them some clarification on that. And I think we've given them everything they wanted to know. And they were not, they didn't have a whole ton of questions for us. They thanked all of our staff and for doing a lot of good work. And what I did hear that was a little different this time than other kind of recent last couple years conversations was, as we headed into as we got out of the last legislative session, there was all this talk of the $2 billion that was coming to all the schools, and there's going to be accountability and all that. And what I heard a little bit was that there's some understanding that, you don't steer a ship that big that quickly, that it's going to take time, that it's also going to take that the $2 billion that got put in doesn't even make up for the shortfall that our state still has compared to other states. And other states are also, they're not all sitting there doing nothing. They're also contributing more funds to their public education. And so there's an awareness, I guess I should say, from the leadership of that committee at the very least, that while they do want accountability, they also understand that it's going to take continued commitment. It's going to take time, and we can't just pat ourselves in the back for one nice action of financial contribution. So it was a good experience. I'd kind of geared myself up to get peppered like Mr. Cranka got peppered at a meeting once, but that didn't happen. So it was good. And I gave them they had a lot of questions about AB 519 and the Owyhee construction project and all that. And so I told them as much as I could based on where we are with that. And so that went well. And then we also, I'll share so we posted on social media, but we have some, this table is filled with award winners from our NASB conference back in December. Just want to give a few specific shout outs. So Jeff alluded to the public official certificate that he, Susan, and Teresa earned during this last year. And it's I looked into it a little more afterward, and it's a ton. It's a lot. It's a lot of hours and dedication that they put into that. So big kudos to you guys for doing that. So thank you. So they all received that, and then Jeff, much to his surprise, was recognized as the NASB Director of the Year from all the school districts. So congratulations to Jeff, and He has dedicated quite a lot of time and effort to that job, and it was not only good to have you win, but it was also good to see that it was a very meaningful recognition for you, and so I was glad for you that you got that. I know, it was pretty good. We have picture evidence of it too, Jeff. Additionally, Teresa Dastrup was recognized as the individual school board member of the year for the whole state. So that's every school board member in every district, and she was the one chosen as the winner. So congrats to Teresa, and she's she wouldn't say this, but I will. She is very well known and loved among school board members around the state. Like you can kind of feel a vibe there when you're there. Like there are a few people that everyone kind of knows, and Teresa's one of those people, and it's evident that people respect her and acknowledge her as an excellent school board member. So we're lucky in Elko County to have Teresa. So congratulations to you. And then it wasn't a surprise to me and Cassie because we found out weeks before, maybe a month or two before, but we knew well in advance that our school board governance team, which I understand includes all 7 board members, they very nicely include me and Cassie in that as well. But our entire school board was recognized as the school board, NASB School Governance Team of the Year. So of all 17 school districts, Elko County received that award. So congratulations to all of you. I have put that award right here. I don't have the ones for Teresa and Jeff because they get to keep those, but they put my name on that one. So it's in my office, but it's I wanted to put it out here today to show that to just showcase that accomplishment. Really good. I have a lot of people that ask me about individual board members, about the board as a whole. And I tell people all the time, and I have no problem saying this to you. I'm like, yeah, some of them, different ones drive me nuts on different days. But what I tell people every time, and like you can direct quote me on this, is, but their hearts are in the right place, and I know they're trying to do things good. Even if they're driving me a little nuts, or even if we disagree on something, that's fine. It's okay to disagree. What concerns me is when I think people are in things for the wrong reasons, and I don't feel that way about any of the 7 of you. And so I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you having your heart in it for the right reason. I'll keep trying to give you suggestions and guidance, and you keep doing what you think is best, and let's work together. But I'm excited that we have our same board here for the next couple of years. And I'm excited I think we're entering a new phase here with getting into work with this Dr. Alsbury. And really not only, because I think we're pretty cohesive at this point and we all kind of get along. But I think there's a lot more to learn still to be better. And so I'm looking forward to that. And learning from him, because he's not just like a regionally decent guy. He's like the foremost expert in effective boards. There's not like a massive quantity of people that are specialists in that category, in that field. But he is, if you look up any kind of article or book that's published on the matter, you're probably going to see his name either on the cover or referenced in the bibliography at the end of the book. Like he's there, it's him. So I'm excited to learn from him along with y'all. And I think I'll leave it at that. So congratulations to all of you, both the individual award winners and the collective group. Looking forward to a good year.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We'll move on to 5.01 items from board members. Who wants to start? We won't throw our student board member under the bus quite yet. So maybe we don't start with Ms. Brindley, but we'll go with the rest of us. Be prepared if you'd like to say anything. Start getting that formulated now.
I'll start if there's, it's the beginning of the year. And so as we move forward with everything, I'd love to have, and I'm asking, but I would love to have a more defined and repeatable reporting for areas of the district for, we, a lot of times we'll have your directors give a report. And a lot of times it's whatever the hot topic is at that time. And so I'd love to have something that is more repeatable that I can look at and see at different programs, because there's plenty of programs within the district I really don't know much of. And so whether it's an explanation of, or if it's, it is the hot topic that time, but, and then a follow-up later as far as this is what we've done, because we do have presentations where there's never been a follow-up since being on this board as well. So if we could have more of a systems and procedures type approach to it of, hey, we have these programs. When was the last time we actually talked to the board about them? It's nothing other than I just want to know what we're doing. That would be fantastic.
You know, I'll follow up with you a little more to
Okay.
kind of get.
Yeah, I know
ideas of
right
what
now.
you're
it's-
talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha.
And then the other one would be, is there any, was there any feedback or did you get anything back on the onboard website or, you know, a board docs replacement type scenario? Have we looked at, I know we went to break and everything. Have you guys heard anything back on that
Yeah,
stuff?
so with the timeline that the topic was brought up, there wasn't enough time to get a whole new program put in place before the beginning of the year.
For sure.
We are, so we're sticking with Board Docs for at least another year. However, Board Docs is shifting itself to something now called the Diligent Community.
Okay.
And it's, from what we can tell, a lot of what their updated platform is going to look like encompasses a lot of some of the things you were hoping to see.
Yeah, for sure.
And a little more usability or user friendliness.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go ahead and continue for another year. We've re-upped with them for 2025. And we're looking forward to seeing
Where it goes.
just kind of test driving what their
Okay.
updated platform is going to look like. Looks like Mr. Robinson would like to say something about it.
Yeah.
I do have a meeting with Onboard tomorrow to kind of go over things also. But we are gonna shift to this Diligent platform and we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But
Do
I
you know-
am looking into multiple.
Do you know if the newer platform, are they talking about AI with the onboard at all? Like an AI component to it?
I think there was a little bit of AI in it, if I recall, yeah.
Just makes things a lot easier. Searchability would be great. No, yes, no, I meant for the new diligence. So they talk about, there's a little bit in there too. Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully that'll help you.
Ask that everybody be patient because it does take time
Oh, for sure.
to roll it out.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be a good 6 months to a year.
Mhm.
But like restricted at the moment, you
Mhm.
know, we don't want to.
Cool. Yeah, I was just wondering about an update. I appreciate that. I appreciate that for sure.
Mac, does the Diligent platform start now or is that a year from now? So are we,
We've updated the license as of right now, but they gotta update all of our data. They gotta get it all swapped
so
over.
that's internal on their end though?
Yes.
So that
Yes.
transition is currently in process, not going to be at some distant point.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Migration,
Yep.
started that migration.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
And the only other thing would be, and I think it's probably going to be down the road, is just, and it's January, so I'm going through all these things for the next year, right? We're all excited for the 2025. But just as we go forward, I'd love to have hopefully the rest of the boards on board with this. It's just that we look at this as a systems and procedures for our stuff so that we've all been here for a decent amount of time. And as we move forward, I would love to leave the board when my time's done in a place where whoever's onboarded, they don't have to go through some of the trials and tribulations we did trying to learn just the systems and procedures. So I think we're going to do that as we work with this doc coming up. But I just wanted to plant the seeds with you guys is that, hey, as we do this, a systems and procedure approach will help everybody. Definitely for our side of things in the board, but also as we do policies too, thinking about, hey, how is this a systems and procedure that can then propagate into the future too? Because that's where it really helps a lot of people out. So anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Josh. Jeff?
Just a couple quick things. Yeah, congrats to everybody on the awards. That was awesome. It was a month ago, but yeah, it still puts a smile on my face. Next NASB meeting coming up Friday. There's just a board of directors meeting and then training following the next day on the 11th. I won't be making the training, but I'll still attend virtually even as legislative, but just give you a heads up down there. So it's on Friday the 10th, the first meeting. And then also to throw out there, Atlanta is coming up quick. That's the NSBA National School Board Association meeting, April 4th to 6th in Atlanta. I do intend on going to that. I was skeptical last year. Going to New Orleans, I was like, it's a couple bucks here. Is it really worth it? I came away from it feeling like it was worth about any price. It was really good conference. Got a good head start on AI with the NEA, those 2 luncheons that they threw that I kind of talked through, along with all the other training there. It was good stuff. So I'd love it if others could join me this year. So I wanted to throw that out there. We need to get our travel plans in though on that one. I would say sometime this month to make it worthwhile. Happy New Year, everyone.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Ms. Teresa,
I'm just looking forward to a great year.
sounds good. Brooke?
Same. I'm looking forward to a great year. I'm excited that you're board president again. I just really think that you've got a good foundation since you've served on other boards and on this board now for a year. And I'm really excited for the training that you'll get as president that is going to be happening. My question about that is, I know that that's a board president training, and I think it's in conjunction with the superintendent, right? Is it like a,
For Dr. Osbury?
yeah,
Yeah, so my understanding, and please jump in, either Cassie or CJ if I'm mistaken. Yeah, it's more of a training on, okay, let's get the board meetings running smoothly. And in conjunction with that, it's how does the board work with the support staff to make sure that things are lined up, ready to go. So I believe that's why it's the 2. And then from there, it spreads out to the rest of the board with more in-depth training.
gotcha. And my point in talking about that is just that I would love you to take great notes on that, because I know there are several other people on the board that hope to someday serve as board president, and to have that knowledge passed on to them would be awesome.
Absolutely. And I think this initial is that ramp up of how do we do this? And to Josh's point on systems and procedures, that will hopefully pave that road of now it's something that can continue on, provided that the board continues to buy into it. Because that's the biggest thing, is that once we get it going, if a majority of the board then rejects it down the line, there's not much we can do there. But the intent, yes, would be, let's keep this going so that future board presidents, at least through the current board, will be able to have that template kind of moving forward.
My turn.
Yes, ma'am, your turn, Miss Adriana.
That I'm excited for this new year, and hoping that we get to learn a lot. And well, that's it. I'm excited to be here and to learn more.
Thank you. Miss Susan.
I don't think I have anything except to add just one thing to what Josh was talking about. And I know we've talked about this before, is creating a calendar that says, oh yeah, we revisit this. Like when we say, oh, we want an update, like put it on a calendar so we know where things are. And I think that will help us organize ourselves better too. Or like if we say, yeah, we want an update in 3 months, put it on a calendar right then so we don't because then I forget too. It's like, oh yeah, weren't we going to look at this again? And I just think having a calendar would really be helpful for us.
Since Susan's talking, Susan's great at helping us identify policies that may need some review. I just wanted to give an update to everyone. You brought a few attendance policies to us. We're nearing, like maybe within the next month or so, being ready on that. What we found is not only those 3 are all jacked up, so to speak, but there's like another 4 or 5 connected to them that just outdated and need to be put into place better. So I say I've got Ray and Candace that are very closely working on that, and then once we kind of get things where we think they are from a practice standpoint, we'll check in with legal, and so we should have something coming soon there. But not that I think you think we're doing nothing, but like I just wanted you to know where we are with those that you asked us to look
Oh,
at.
thank
So,
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Ms. Brindley, anything to add?
No, but would now be a good time just to share kind of the things we're doing at the high school?
Absolutely, please do.
Perfect. So it's pretty simple with the new year. We've just been like trying to start the new year off strong and really get the students involved and just participating in school because sometimes it can be hard after break. So this week we have our SWAT dance coming up on Saturday, and the students are pretty excited about that. And yeah, other than that, we're just really trying to keep the students involved and keep them happy. So pretty simple at Spring Creek. So yeah.
Thank you, Brindley. Appreciate it. All right, I would like to echo across the board the congratulations, but also to say thank you for the board, because this was a board governance team. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, CJ. We're the ones up here making the decisions, but you guys are also the ones in the back helping us to have these agendas ready and to have the stuff prepared. So I'm very pleased that the state, that NASB recognized that, and again, very honored to serve again as another year for president. I'm looking forward to a great year. Looking forward to our time with Dr. Alsbury and how that can continue to make us even better. And a happy new year to everyone as well. So with that, we will go to 6.01, approval of the accounts payable.
Move to approve the accounts payable.
Second.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Any disclosures?
I will disclose that I have a family member who works for Wells Rural Electric, but I will not be abstaining from voting.
Same.
All righty. Any,
Have to
All right.
disclose that I work for Lone Wolf, so I'll be abstaining from voting.
all right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. And with that, we have made it to the end of our meeting, 7.01 for meeting closure. We have input from the public for one final time. All right, seeing none, then we stand in adjournment. 8.01 closes the meeting, and we will see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful day.
Updated, they already paid legal? It just hit me.